What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I hope that you're doing great today. Matt Benelli here, and today we're getting back to real estate, talking about the NAR versus Zillow and the 2018 market crash. The National Association of Realtors and Zillow have taken headlines this week for many reasons, one most importantly of which is the DOJ's hearings on antitrust. Listening to people talk about, is there enough competition in the real estate industry? Both Zillow and the National Association of Realtors took this opportunity to kind of fire a few shots at each other, and it's just seriously getting old. Now, I'm kind of on the side with Zillow on this one here. Their comments about Upstream and how a lot of people associated with that project have been actively saying publicly that part of the reason for the project is to restrict how information can flow to certain websites like Zillow. And then the NAR fires back with comments that Zillow creates confusion through how they list agents next to listings and their Zestimate feature. I will admit that, yes, there is some consumer confusion when it comes to Zestimates and how the agents are presented next to listings, but this confusion exists on brokers' websites as well. When it comes to IDX listings, broker websites carry the listings for the entire MLS region with a small footnote at the bottom saying where that listing is coming from. Typically, it often looks like that listing could be represented by that brokerage. Does this create consumer confusion to the point that we are not serving the consumer well as a real estate sales community? That is actually a very good question, and I'm not really quite sure on how to answer that at this point with my opinion, because the job of a real estate agent is to create clarity for their customers and their clients, and if we're not creating clarity and we're actually creating confusion with some of these things, are we really helping? So then that really goes to, are there two different sources of how we do our business? There is marketing of listings, and then there's servicing buyers and sellers, guiding them down the path. And do those two cross? Absolutely. How do we do it in the best way possible? I'm pretty sure that we are figuring that out as an industry right now. If the National Association of Realtors spent their time trying to help the industry figure out how to better serve consumers in terms of the process of buying or selling, rather than focusing on holding on to all the data and how best to market listings, I think they would make a lot more progress than they are with these little tit-for-tat fights that they get involved in. And to conclude this topic, I'm sure that a lot of people are also up in arms with headlines about Zillow purchasing a mortgage lending company and also getting licensed as a broker in the state of Arizona. I just don't see that as a big deal. Is Zillow going to become a broker at some point? They say that they're not, but could they? It's possible. I don't see why that wouldn't be a goal of theirs long term, but right now, with all the brokerages fighting about which model is the best and agents building these mega teams underneath these 100% commission models, I think Zillow is staying out of it until the industry figures that portion out for themselves. I want to take a moment as well to talk about what's happening in the market here in 2018, because you hear a lot of agents and a lot of coaches and a lot of trainers and a lot of brokers talking about how they're seeing this market shift. And when I talk to my clients around the country, I'm certainly hearing the same thing. Many people are trying to figure out whether this is going to be a crash, whether this is stagnation, whether this is a correction, and then also trying to define what all those terms mean differently. Ultimately, I think what we need to know and need to be prepared for is that the market is shifting, and markets shift all the time. We've been enjoying this trend of consistency over the past several years, and now as the market begins to shift, we get a little nervous about what does that mean for our business. Well, depending on how you operate your business, it could mean many different things, but if you are focused on maintaining and building relationships with the people that you know, the people in your community, and providing value to those who need your help when it comes to real estate, you're going to be fine in this market. Providing value does not mean telling people what they want to hear. You got to be honest with your clients. Pricing is going to be absolutely paramount in a market like this, more so than it has been in tight inventory markets. But I will argue that even in those markets, there are plenty of people who overprice listings, and you see those are the ones that instead of selling in 2 weeks, they sell in maybe 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Does that really matter as long as the house sells? Yes, absolutely it matters, because remember, our goal as agents is not just to list homes and get them sold eventually. It's to help sellers get to where they need or want to go on time. If you have a big job transfer coming up, and to make that transfer easier on your family and your bank account, you need to get your home sold within a matter of weeks so that you can be on your way to where you need to go, so you can buy a house, be settled, get the kids in school, etc., etc. It's very important to sell your home when it needs to sell. This is one of the most important things that a lot of listing agents don't pay attention to. They figure they could just wow a seller with a pretty marketing plan, come up with something that, resembles decent pricing, let the seller decide where they want to do it. They take the overpriced listing, and then when it doesn't sell, they say, well, we didn't price it right. If you're not properly educating your sellers on what's going on as it relates to pricing and market shifts, I think you're skirting your fiduciary duty. I just do. When it comes to buyers and markets are starting to kind of flatten out or maybe dip a little bit, a lot of people will say, well, maybe we shouldn't buy. Maybe let's put our money on the side and wait for the market to go down, and then we can look at purchasing. If you have buyers that have the means to do that, great. Certainly not a bad strategy, because buying in a market that's turning, obviously that wouldn't be a good investment. But let's also remember that most people are not buying homes for investment purposes. They're buying them for lifestyle purposes. Now, that doesn't mean that they should overspend to get the lifestyle that they want. Everyone should live within their means. But if you're buying a long-term home where you're going to raise your kids and watch them play in this particular neighborhood, and that is super important to you, maybe getting into that home today makes a lot of sense. And if you're not overextending yourself, you should be able to ride out whatever market shifts happen. The reason why a lot of people lost their homes in 2008 was because they overextended themselves, purchased too much, borrowed too much, and were living beyond their means. Now, your job as a real estate agent is not to be a financial advisor for your buyers, but help guide them so that they're making appropriate decisions. Let them understand what's happening in the market so that they can then talk to their financial advisor and make the most appropriate decision for them. And just like sellers, buyers also need to get or want to get to where they want to go on time, and your job as a real estate agent is to help guide them through that process, not just come up with a bunch of numbers and say, hey, here's what's going on, market's going down, maybe you shouldn't buy, maybe you should do this, you know what, I would offer this, I would offer this. Give them the information, help educate them on what's going on, and let them make the decisions. How does this all impact your business as a real estate agent? Well, that's kind of up to you. Transactions happen every single day. In up markets, in down markets, in low inventory, in lots of inventory, transactions happen. Does that mean that transaction volume will cycle through? Absolutely. But so do real estate agents. They cycle in and out of the industry. Now, NAR is quoting that they have higher membership than they've ever had with younger people entering the market, which kind of makes sense because entrepreneurism is kind of cool right now. And so people look at real estate as a great way to kind of, stretch their entrepreneur muscles. However, most people who carry a realtor designation are still part-timers or really not fully invested in making a career out of this. And some people just kind of still keep their designation and pay their dues and aren't actually doing any business. But that's really a tangent, because enrollment shouldn't affect you and your actions. It doesn't matter how much competition is out there, as long as you're focused on your process, building relationships, keeping up with your marketing, doing what you're doing best, and bringing value to your people so that they are raving fans of yours, you're going to do just fine in any market. Would it be wise to look at your financial planning to make sure you can ride out, certain lulls, whether it's a 4-month or 6-month lull, particularly if you're in a niche market? Absolutely. You should take a look at your financial plan, no matter what the market is, to make sure that you can ride anything out, because that's just good business. That's it for today. I hope that you guys have a fantastic day. Get out there and crush it and hold nothing back.